Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen from University of San Francisco Center for Business Studies and Innovation, Asia Pacific. Welcome, BV Jagadeesh, and also thank you for joining our interview program. Would you please briefly introduce yourself?
Yes. First of all, Roger, thank you so much for having me as part of this. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be associated with University of San Francisco and then be part of this. I came to this country in 1982, and I actually had already finished my master's degree in India itself, and I had worked for a couple of years, and I happened to just get a job in a Silicon Valley high technology company. And since then, pretty much I have worked all my life until I started my own in 1993. I pretty much had worked in mostly startup companies. So I was sort of fortunate to work with different kinds of startup companies so that even though I was an engineer for many, many years, I got to actually see different aspects of building the product and then bringing the product to the market as well. I started my own first company end of 1993, which is Excellence Communications, where we pioneered the whole concept of internet data centers. We had version 1 of the AWS cloud that we used to offer to our customers. The company, we went public in 1998. I left the company in 2000 to start another company called NetScaler, which actually solved the problem for this hyper growth that the data centers were experiencing because of the server inefficiency. We dramatically reduced almost like 10:1 in terms of the number of servers that people used to deploy before to people deployed with the NetScaler. So that reduced tremendous data center footprint consumption, power consumption, the overall cost of running a data center for corporations. And that company, as you know, after 9/11, the entire market sort of collapsed. So we'll discuss that a little bit later. But eventually we came back and we built a flagship product, the NetScaler load balancers, which then started to do extremely well. And in 2005, Citrix came forward to acquire us. So for the last 10, 12 years or so, I've been primarily focused as an angel investor, and I'm working with the next generation of entrepreneurs, mostly in B2B and enterprise infrastructure, software, SaaS companies. About 40% of my time I spend on nonprofit organizations, both in the US as well as in India.
Discussion topic: business logic causing VCs to avoid consulting model.
Do you have any kind of preference or try to avoid certain business models that startup company tend to work on? For example, earlier you mentioned about clearly you're not interested in startup companies pursuing consulting type of business. So following that kind of logic, do you have any kind of just a wisdom to say, hey, if a startup company is following or using this type of business model, then probably it's not a very good sign. I'm not that interested. Or, you prefer certain type of business models, so maybe you can share those kind of thinkings.
What I normally don't take on would be the two types of companies. One is the services consulting companies, and the other one would be consumer-centric companies. No matter how attractive it is, I shy away from taking on these consumer companies, mainly because what I have learned is it may look a little funny, but it's a reality. The companies that I believe are the ones which will pretty much, have failed. And the companies that I did not believe actually took off. So that just tells the consumer, this is the consumer companies, right? The consumer companies that I thought were going to become big failed miserably. And the consumer companies that I did not bet on actually became very successful. That just shows how disconnected I am, right? to the reality of the consumer company. So having experienced that once or twice just for the sake of it, I decided, hey, this is not my cup of tea. I'm just going to not invest in consumer-centric companies at all. And I'll just focus on where I can add value. So today, the principle in which I invest is I will not write a check for the sake of writing a check. I will write a check only if I can add value. If I cannot add value, I just walk away from it. So everything else, I treat it as a learning experience. So even if it's a new business model, so be it. That's a learning experience. I don't want to get stuck with some old business model and that's the only one that I'm going to operate on. No. Yeah, because these are all changing on a daily basis. Who would have anticipated the revenue model would be, for software companies to become SaaS model, right?
Yeah.
And now we have a company which is based on usage-based model. So the whole revenue for this company is based on usage-based. So actually the customer benefits a lot from this. Yeah, you pay for what you use rather than you pay in bulk, right? You don't need to.
That's great.
Yeah.
So actually these are kind of very, very good points. So in other words, actually become very more open, flexible in terms of business model, except consulting type of business model. Why? What's the business logic behind it?
It's what I have seen is this consulting model. The mindset of the people is very different because in consulting model, what happens is every opportunity that is thrown at you, you say, okay, I can do it. I'll do it. I'll figure out how to throw bodies at this and then get the job done, right? So that's just not a scalable sort of a model. When you try to boil the ocean, I personally feel there is no intellectual challenge in those kind of things. So it's just my personal view. That's the reason as to why I kind of shy away from it.
Thank you for watching.